Hey everyone, Michael back at you here on the Archangel 15. This is part 2 of the Secret Doctrine book review. Not exactly sure how many there's going to be. Please start with part 1. Very, very interesting, amazing information on the one and only Helena Petrovna Blavatsky. Please start with part 1. I'm going to start right back off where I left off here. So I'm going to, like I said, do a lot of reading from the book. This is page 57, and we're still in Cosmogenesis. We have a whole, like I said, 1,300 pages to go. One of the symbolic figures for the dual creative power in nature, matter and force on the material plane, is Padma, the water lily of India. The lotus is a product of heat and fire and water and vapor and ether. Fire standing in every philosophical and religious system as a representation of the spirit of deity, the active male generative principle, and the ether or the soul of matter, the light of the fire, for the passive female principle from which everything in the universe emanated. Hence, ether or water is the mother, and fire is the father. I must leave off there, but like I said, just really amazing stuff. How she puts it all together. My own, like I said, I go back and forth, kind of deciding who I like better as far as her or Crowley, and like I said, it's really indecisive. Like one minute I'll say this, one minute I'll say the other. But Crowley seems like he was a little bit more to the point. She was a little bit whimsical, almost, I guess you could say, in a sense. Again, like I said, I regret not reading Isis Unveiled first, but I'm not going to go back and read it. Like I said, she mentions it a lot of times in this book, stuff that she did, and like basically she took that information and built on it. And definitely, like I said, Buddhism and she, like I said, like essentially was like the heart, the esoteric Buddhism is the theme of this, and like kind of gets into understanding the contrarian views of Genghis Khan as well, about like okay, that like okay, we're meant to almost just mix together and blend into one group of people, or that like basically everybody's left separate, and it like eventually it'll go, like it started with China, the Matrix, and it'll go back to China, and that's what I tend to believe. And like that, like almost everybody else was like engineered to be slaves to build up the world, and like it's much deeper, and it kind of like almost destroys certain notions of faith, almost like Jesus was engineered. And like I'm in, like, I've been studying this stuff for years, and that's almost like what I keep coming back to, is that like the prophets and like other things, and like it's also like it's a reoccurring theme or something. Like it's like the earth gets destroyed, like they know exactly why it's going to be destroyed, and then like it starts over again, and like it really really makes you question a lot of things, which is good to get you outside, thinking outside the box. And like I said, it understands like the deeper like concept of programming human consciousness. Like I've been really big on this, and like it's really, like I said, almost like they engineered Jesus and the prophets. Uh, in John 1:4, in him was life, and the life was the light of men. Like anything to do with the light, like I said, I am the root and the offspring of David, the bright and the morning star, real big one as well. Keep moving here. Some of this stuff is really difficult for me to find. I may end up just skipping over. But she talks about like the devil, like I said, being like this contrarian force of nature or something like that. And she also mentions tetragrammaton, which is really really interesting. Like I said, that like Crowley is the one who got me really big on the tetragrammaton stuff. And she says talks about this notion of dark being associated with bad and light being associated with good. It's like a universal standard. Like it can't be any other way. Like dark bad, light good. And she says, bright space, son of a dark space, responds to the ray dropped at the thrill of the new dawn of the cosmic depths from which it reemerges, differentiated as Ohia younger, the new life to become, to the end of the life cycle, the germ of all living things, the incorporeal man who contains in himself the divine idea, the generator of light, life, use an expression, blazing dragon of wisdom, she mentions, something like that. And keep moving here. So she, like I said, she mentions tetragrammaton, like there's a true mathematical name of God in Hebrew supposedly, and there's like it's equivalent to abracadabra. And like I found out about this in magic and theory and practice. You must understand the concept of tetragrammaton. It's like one of the deepest secrets ever. And let me see here. And then she talks about the angels, like basically the archangels are like go back much deeper in the gamut of time, and like humans were an afterthought essentially. And then like there's like a certain hierarchy of the angels, and Michael is obviously I like the top of them. Like I said, he controls all realms, and the first primordial. She said that the first primordial are the highest beings on the scale of existence. They are archangels of Christianity, those who refuse, as Michael did in the later system, and did the eldest mind-born sons Brahma. And like I said, there's like this notion of just suffering and rebellion. Like it's a very common theme throughout certain religious texts and so on. And like I said, keep in mind, like I said, she knew other languages, just like Crowley knew the whole Bible by heart. He knew many languages, and like I said, like there was like other Kabbalic writings. She mentions the Kabbalic stuff innumerable times, and she, like I said, she mentions numbers that correlate to the matrix. She like basically like numerology, like real deep. Like when you get into like alchemy and witchcraft, really deep stuff with just the notion of this. I highly recommend that you watch my video on Mongolia, and like basically I break it down about Genghis Khan. He like at one point controlled the entire world almost, and like I think he could have kept going, and like he actually he was outnumbered like 5-1 by the Russians and beat them, and like the Mongols were like the baddest sons of bitches ever to live and walk the earth. Like the areas that they conquered, even with like 4-wheelers and helicopters, you couldn't do it. It had to be done on horseback. And like they were just bad sons of bitches. Like I said, just like please watch that, and explains that like the rest of the land, it's almost like he didn't conquer it on purpose. He found out that like after you conquer land, like I said, you like there's nothing there. You have to actually build stuff. You're better off engineering a race of slaves to do it and then take them out, and like basically program human consciousness. And like I said, also like I mentioned my TIEL 369 video series. It's like really ties a lot of this together. So she says the Chinese, basically, like she mentions about the Chinese, and like I'm gonna say this again at the end, but like essentially, like what I've interpreted is like there's like a part of history, ancient history, that goes back that like the Chinese are like keeping to themselves, like really deep secrets about aliens and tying like everything together. About this, like kind of like the TIEL 369, and it says we will go further than that and assert that electricity is not only substance, but that it is an emanation from an entity which is neither God nor devil, but only the numberless entities that rule and guide our world according to the eternal law of karma. Like I said, our world being guided by the eternal law of karma. Big theme. It's real. It's not even debatable. Now, that being said, like the Indian people, like there's Indian people, oh, there is no God, or there's only energy that transforms into consciousness. Like, no, fuck that. That's not true. Like the Indians are going to burn in hell if they believe that. There really is God, and in my opinion, his name is Allah. And like to be honest with you, I agree with the Pakistanis that don't like a lot of the Indian people. There's like a certain word, agnostic, is what like a lot of Indian people refer to themselves as. Like they don't believe in anything. They believe that there's this energy that transforms into consciousness, and like that's good. That's part of it. But no, there really is a God, and he gets really angry from time to time. And like I said, like there's like certain laws. Like the seventh day was made to worship God, and like I said, and it was also one of the 10 Commandments. And you're not supposed to use his name in vain. Like it's like really important to acknowledge the presence of God. And he puts the angels here to do it, like basically to be his hitmen. Okay, so I read that about that was really an interesting one in my opinion about the electricities. Like Kind of gets into like James Clerk Maxwell stuff, part of a really big matrix. And the Watchers appointed to guide the universe numerical cosmogenical system of the universe. Okay, so I think this is it here. Herein lies the notice in the study of symbology, in which, unable to unite, disentangling so many scholars there's other marks in this book that I didn't make. Okay, so the army at each angle is the host of angelic beings, the Diane Cronins she talks about. I'll get to at the end if you stay with me. Appointed to guide and watch over their each respective regions from beginning to the end of the Manvantara. They are the mystic watchers of the Christian Kabbalists and alchemists, and relate symbolically as well as cosmogenically to the numerical system of the universe. So like this whole theme of the Watchers. The Book of Enoch was not canonized on purpose. Enoch was one of the few people that were fortunate enough to go to heaven without dying. But you must know about the Book of Enoch and the Watchers. And there's more Bible. There's more characters that basically play into this than just Michael the Archangel and even Gabriel. Like there's like 7 archangels basically, and she talks about Raphael, others as well. I have a separate one I did with the candles, but like I said, it gets deep into this numerology of 7. Just know that the angels have been in heaven for trillions of years. Like I said before, God even thought about making humans. Please again forgive. Like I said, how some of this is out of order, and like I said, some of this is very difficult. I'm going to skip over some stuff to try to expedite this. Talks about the origins of the universe, like I said, a lot of times of the sun. And if you understand, like I said, quantum physics, understand that like light, energy, vibration, sound are all the same. I mentioned a book, Nada Brahma, that I read, Sound is God. Ties everything together with magnetism, the electromagnetic spectrum. And like it's just anything relating to light, like I said, like the Ku Klux Klan borrowed a lot of stuff from her, and there's this whole thing that they have, sign of the fiery cross. Very, very, very important. Either you get this or you don't get it. And if you don't get it, you need some more time. Like it's like basically, like I can't really break it down to you any more than that. Okay, so then she talks about peri-nirvana, and basically peri-nirvana occurs shortly after the death of somebody who has attained nirvana in their lifetime. You can look it up, the term peri-nirvana. And like I never knew, like I knew about Nirvana, not the band, but look up the term peri-nirvana. Really, really, really interesting. Just the concept of it. And like any book that takes your mind and elevates it to new levels is a good book, in my opinion. Okay, so another quote here. Lead the life necessary for the acquisition of such knowledge and power and wisdom will come to you naturally, like through enlightenment in a sense. Whenever you're able to attune your consciousness to any of the 7 chords of the universal consciousness, probably like the solar harmonic spectrum, those chords run along the sounding board of the cosmos, vibrating from one eternity to another. When you have studied thoroughly the music of the spheres, then only will you become quite free to share your knowledge with those of whom it is safe to do so. Meanwhile, be prudent. Do not give out the great truths that are of the inherent of the future races, essentially, in the present generations. And like I could see where, like I said, like basically, like my Till 369 video did that. And like like if we weren't in the middle of nuclear warfare and a whole bunch of BS and corruption with the cloning, I probably would have just kept this to myself. But like I've been very deeply suppressed myself, and this information, like I said, if you're still here in this presentation, it's obviously because you want it. You want to know it. And like I said, I don't see any issues with that. I think it's a great honor to this amazing mind. And she talks about the 7 lunar Petries, and like these, like it's really, really difficult to explain. I don't want to spend a whole presentation on that, but like there's 7 classes of Petries. The whole thing with the lunar Petries is really, really interesting and profound. There's a lot of like special energy to it. And she says the curse is pronounced does not mean in this instance that any personal being, God or superior spirit pronounced it, but simply that the cause which could create bad results and been generated and the effects of karmic cause could lead to the beings that counteracted the laws of nature and thus impeded her legitimate progress only to bad incarnations, hence suffering. Essentially, like God, if God's all present and like that powerful to create the devil, then like they're both one and the same, essentially. And it's like what the Freemasons believe. This is what others believe, and it's a lot of truth. And like I said, it's our free will to choose between the two. Our free will. Like I said, a deep, deep theme here. She was huge into this, the whole understanding of the Kabbalah. Like I said, just like if you understand like the various Jewish texts and so forth. She has actually some illustrations in this book. This is one of them. Kabbalic by nature. I'm not like going to break it down for you, but she says the three higher planes of sepentary cosmos, the divine and formless world of spirit, third plane. Then our archetypal world, the intellectual and creative world, the substantive formative world, the physical material world. Like breaks it down in like the most like dimensions, almost something like Einstein. Deep lover of physics, and she connects it all together. Like the Roman Catholic Church would not want you to know this stuff, just to let you know. And she talks about, like I said, this whole concept of monads. I'm gonna get to that later, but where like what I really like, she starts talking about reptilian and lizard gods. And like other people talk about Lizard King and like crocodile god, like worship of crocodiles. A long time ago, like I was, like I said, like in like this paralytic trance state, and I started saying something about crocodiles, and it was really interesting. And I was like, wow, it makes sense now. And I talked about how this book repossesses your soul. I actually had like I had an issue. I still have an issue with my shoulder. I probably have sarcoma or something from radiation, and I went into shock. And like I said, I almost believe that like she repossessed my soul. Like she loves Michael the Archangel, and like she took me for herself. My love with her on Valentine's Day. One of the reasons I wear red, along with the Holy Grail bloodline, and Russia and China, and just deeper symbolic elements. But yeah, Blavatsky's my girl. So she says the fifth group is a very mysterious one, as it is connected with the microcosmic pentagon, the five-pointed star representing man. In India and Egypt, these Dians were connected with the crocodile, and their abode is in Capricornus. And these are convertible terms in Indian astrology, as the 10th sign of the zodiac is called the Makara, loosely translated crocodile. And the word itself is occultly interpreted in various ways, as shown further on. Very interesting here. She mentions this person, General Massey. I haven't did too much research on it, but she must mention his name 150 times throughout the various books, and must be a very big luminary figure. And I believe that there's like stuff missing from this, or like stuff that they like almost like held out on purpose. I've heard other things about like the complete works of Charles Fort that they did this with as well. I really believe that like just the way that like if you start reading it, especially not so much in anthropogenesis but cosmogenesis, it's like there's something missing. It's weird, really, really weird. Like people like left stuff out or cut it out, like they didn't want you to know, like even deeper stuff than what I'm telling you. I mentioned her fascination with like microbiology. And like, okay, so like when you like, if you ever like stare at a windshield in a car, like just go into a deep state and you see like little air bubbles that are moving around, they like almost look exactly like microbiology under a microscope. Various anatomical particles and stuff that move around. The sperm, like basically moves the same way, and UFOs they move like in a certain fluid movement, and it's kind of interesting. She mentions that, like in the Bible and other things, that the creation of heaven and earth is a mistranslation. She says there's like an upper heaven, like, and I've actually read this in other books by John Hagee, that there's three heavens. There's like three levels of heaven, not just one level of heaven, but three. And like in my opinion, the highest level of heaven is like through the salvation, through the blood of Jesus Christ, and like it's like the purple of like a Kabbalah, in my opinion. Is it possible to go to heaven on other planes? Yes. But in my opinion, that is the highest level, the highest plane. Fermentation, Aether, talks about fermentation, interesting. Mentions animals of men separated by vast oceans like Mexicans or Peruvians. She breaks it down for you to essentially know the hierarchy of man. Like basically like not all people are created equal. Like just bottom line. Like not even really debated, in my opinion. Like there's different blood types, there's different body types. Like I said, some people were meant to be workers, some people were meant to be an engineer, some people were meant to look pretty. It's just kind of interesting concept. Okay, so like I said, this anything about the Watchers, you can't get enough of it. And it's like I said, it's obvious why they didn't canonize a lot of it into the Bible. The Watchers reigned over man during the whole period of Satya, the Yuga, and the smaller subsequent Yugas down to the beginnings of the third root race, after which is in the patriarchs heroes of the Manes, seen the Egyptian dynasties enumerated, the priests of Solon, something like that. And I'm going to actually stop right here and start part 3 of the Secret Doctrine book review. I will see you on part 3. If you're still with me, I sincerely thank you.